Here's a thought. What if the reason that men are withdrawing from traditional relationships was due to the quality of the women that are on offer? Now, I'm sure that title has tilted a whole bunch of you, but I'm just going to clarify my position a little bit here. So, I'm of the understanding that gender as a concept is something that's hardwired into the universe itself. Gender stereotyping and gender roles are something distinct to that, and those are societal constructions for sure. What's been considered the traditional role of men and women in society has changed and evolved over time, though there are fundamental concepts that are inherent to the ideas of masculinity and femininity, which are present as natural forces in themselves. I'm not here to debate that position today. I was just here to present that as context for the other things I'm going to say in this video. So, speaking as a 35-year-old man, from personal experience of being out in the world and trying to find the woman that I felt I could trust to be the mother of my children, I have found an awful lot of women who have issues with masculinity as a whole and carry very toxic ideas of what men are all about. Now, it's up for debate where exactly that's come from. There may be some societal indoctrination there, media presentations of what it means to be a man or a woman, that sort of stereotyping that comes off the back of that. However, I've heard really toxic ideas in my life, like men are only interested in sex. And the most toxic one I heard recently was that most men don't even want children. Most men only have children because they accidentally impregnate a woman and then they feel responsible for raising that child. Or perhaps they don't, perhaps they just, do one and abandon the woman with the kid. Now, from a personal position, I can tell you that I see sex as a method of connecting with a woman on a deeply personal and spiritual level, and I think it's a method of communication between couples which carries a weight that goes above anything that's just casual. I'm not a believer in casual sex. Now, that's not to say that in my youth I didn't experiment with the idea, but as an empowered adult man, it's been something that has been always been more than about just getting my end away. I've never been able to sleep with someone that I didn't feel connected to, in relationships when I felt like we were distant. The sex itself was something that I didn't feel I could engage with and didn't feel like I wanted really with that person if I didn't feel that emotional and spiritual connection with them. And I won't say I've always, when I was younger I was a little bit more on the fence about the idea of having kids, but at least for the last 15 years I've really wanted to have a family of my own and been on the lookout for the woman who I could trust. Now, I've come from a broken home. My parents divorced when I was about 12 or 13, I think. They actually broke up, I think, when I was maybe 11. And my mum remarried to a very, very nice man who I'm very, very glad to have in my life. However, as somebody who went through that process of a familial breakup, I was always insistent I would never let that happen to my kids. And my opinion was that if there was any doubt in my mind at all that the person I was with wasn't going to be the woman I could be with forever, that it wasn't worth taking that risk. Now, it's not been out of, a fear of having a family. It's been out of a respect for what it actually means to have a child with someone. It's about more than just what I want. It's about creating a stable environment for that child, and knowing that the two of you are on the same page when it comes to things like morality and discipline and your fundamental understanding of how the universe is supposed to work. Now, that's not to mean you've got to agree on everything with your partner, but there are a few key core components that you have to be on the same page on, otherwise it's just not going to work. You're not going to be instilling consistent morality in your children. So I've been in maybe 3 serious relationships, well, three relationships period really, for the last 15 years. We're looking at 5 years apiece for the first 2, thereabouts, and then the most recent one has been about 3 years. And perhaps that's my fault for sticking around too long, and maybe I needed a little bit more self-respect with regards to what I deserve. I certainly don't think I'm any kind of 10 out of 10, but solid 7, and it's always been about more than just whether I got on with the person on a sort of superficial level. We have to share deep understanding of what the universe is about, and what it means to be a moral person, and what we expect of our children. And I've just not found that. I've found a lot of women that were very damaged in their opinion of men, who saw my trust in them as a lack of interest at times. God, I had one woman who told me that the fact that I wasn't jealous, or I wouldn't be jealous if she went to meet some workmates, some male work friends, for a drink after work or whatever, that I wouldn't be jealous and I wouldn't be worried. Like, that she was upset by that. And I can't understand that. Like, why would you be upset that your partner trusts you, that your partner has faith in you? Like, should I be suspicious? Is there a reason I should be suspicious? Because if there's not, why does it offend you? It turned out, in the end, with that particular relationship, that she had cheated before. She had cheated with a married man. And because of that, she was kind of on the lookout for that from everybody else. And again, without going into any more personal detail about a lot of things, this is what I've encountered an awful lot of, is women in my life projecting their issues onto me. And carrying baggage from previous relationships into the one that they have with me. I think what it means to be a man, and what is wonderful about being men, has been devalued in society. I think the idea of tough love, of having high expectations, of understanding where a behaviour is coming from, but also recognising that it's unacceptable, and encouraging people to be better. I think that has been taken away, and these, let's call them traditional masculine ideas, are of forceful application of will and resistance to that which we disagree with, has been taken away from us. Mark Passio did a brilliant video on fake feminism, which is where he's talking about women not trying to be celebrated for being women and for the unique and essential things that the feminine brings to the table, but women who are instead displaying or trying to take the role of masculinity while still berating the idea of masculinity, which is very twisted in itself, you know. I'm a very progressive person. Yeah, I love the fact that, you know, women are able to go and have careers and be independent. I think that's a wonderful thing. But I'm concerned that that's then come at the expense of understanding the essential nurturing role of women with regards to, you know, raising a family, and that perhaps they've devalued themselves in that sense. Again, you know, always an advocate for expanded ideas and the ability to allow people to do what they want. But I think we're in a place now where people are starting to deny their very natures. And instead of understanding who they really are and channeling that energy in an intellectual and intuitive manner and finding that balance, is that we're rejecting parts of our understanding of nature that is fundamentally damaging our society now. You can't have tough love anymore. And having high expectations of your kids, you know, I see it all the time in my job. There's so many children that aren't encouraged to face their fears, that aren't encouraged to do things that perhaps they don't like because they need to be done. And as much as it's important to listen to your heart, and I do really believe that, it's very important to listen to your heart, it's also just as important to be able to rationalize things. You know, when rationale fails, intuition is king. When intuition fails, you have to lean into your intellect. And it's understanding where each part of that intelligence is useful. And we're in a world now where intellect and reason have been completely thrown out of the window. All arguments are run and won by emotion. It's all about how the other person feels. Or you can't say that because that might make them feel like this. You can't say that because that might make them feel like that. Well, if it's the truth, then your feelings are kind of irrelevant. And I'm sorry to be as harsh as I can about that, but they are. Sometimes you have to put your feelings to one side and do what's right. Do what's right. I've broken up with women that I loved because intellectually we couldn't come together. Emotionally we were fine, but intellectually and rationally, from a place of mind, we couldn't meet. There were too many differences in philosophy for us to really function. And for me, that's the key here. It's all about balance. It's about balancing that feminine emotion with the masculine intellect and reason, and understanding that both are important and both have their place, and you can't just rely on one type of energy or the other. So why am I 35 and single without any kids? Not met a woman I could trust yet. Not met a woman I could trust yet. On a practical point, you know, if we were to break up, I know that the system of courts would lean towards the woman, unless I could prove that she was objectively a horrible human being. And that's not something I want for my kids. I don't even want to take that chance. Because I wouldn't want to have that battle with the mother of my children if things didn't work out. Thank you very much for watching, if indeed you still are. I'm Rick, this has been Fanfare for the Conscious. Don't forget to like, sub, and follow me on Odyssey. Take care. Don't forget to stay free, think free, and act free. I'll see you next time.